Did you know that some rock stars worth over $1 billion still drive old cars, wear thrift store clothes, and live in modest homes? From Beatles legends flying economy to grunge icons working regular jobs. Here are 20 rock and roll stars that live like they are poor. 1. Paul McCartney. A music legend and billionaire, Paul McCartney lives a surprisingly simple life. Even though he found massive success with the Beatles, Wings, and as a solo artist, he never let money change him. While other celebrities surround themselves with luxury, McCartney stays careful with his spending and keeps things modest. One of the biggest surprises is how he raised his children. Even though he had plenty of money, he made them pay for their own education because he believes in self-reliance. He also avoids fancy travel. Instead of private jets and first-class tickets, McCartney is often seen flying economy. Even at his own events, guests sometimes have to buy their own drinks. For him, money is just a tool, not a way to show off. He has never forgotten the value of hard work, something he learned growing up in Liverpool. His daily choices reflect this mindset. A vegetarian for most of his life, he prefers cooking his own simple meals instead of hiring top chefs. His wardrobe is just as modest, casual, often the same outfits repeated. While other stars show off expensive brands, McCartney focuses on what really matters: music, family, and staying true to himself. He doesn't need flashy things to feel successful. Making music and performing bring him the most happiness. 2. Dave Grohl. A rock legend, Dave Grohl fills stadiums and earns massive respect in the music world. But despite his fame, he still lives like an ordinary guy. While other rock stars chase mansions and luxury, Grohl sticks to a simple, grounded life. Even after his success with Nirvana and Foo Fighters, he never gave in to the millionaire lifestyle. His home is practical, not flashy. His car, just a regular one. He doesn't see the point in spending huge amounts on things that don't really matter. Instead, he puts his money where it counts, helping others. Grohl funds struggling musicians, supports music programs, and donates to causes he believes in. His attitude isn't just about money. Unlike many famous rock stars who surround themselves with bodyguards, Grohl prefers to hang out in local bars, talking with fans like an old friend. No arrogance, no acting like a celebrity, just a guy who loves music and good company. He even pays for strangers' meals sometimes, quietly spreading kindness without making a big deal about it. 3. Charlie Watts. Unlike most rock stars, Charlie Watts chose a different path. As the drummer of the Rolling Stones, he could have lived a wild, flashy life, but he stayed away from the chaos while his bandmates enjoyed fame, fortune, and endless parties. For over 50 years, he remained loyal to his wife, Shirley. Unlike many musicians, he never got caught up in the world of groupies or scandals. Instead of a mansion in Hollywood, he lived quietly in the English countryside, surrounded by his favorite Arabian horses. If he had one luxury, it was them. But even that came from love, not greed. Watts never liked being in the spotlight. He avoided interviews, skipped wild parties, and did not act like a typical rock star. His true passion was jazz. Even though he played in one of the biggest rock bands in history, he did not show off his wealth. He dressed in sharp but simple suits, always stylish, never flashy. Even his watch collection reflected his personality, classic, not over the top. Fame never seemed to matter to him. He did not see himself as a rock legend, just a drummer doing what he loved. When people asked about his success, he often brushed it off as unimportant. His focus was always on the music, not the money or the fame that came with it. Other musicians admired him for his quiet strength. While some chased attention, Watts stayed dedicated to his craft. He proved that you do not need to be loud to be great. He was happy with his simple life, his music, and his family. His success came from staying true to himself. 4. Jack White. The mind behind the White Stripes, Jack White could live like a rock star, but he chooses a simple life. Even with fame and fortune, he avoids luxury. Instead of big mansions, he rented a small apartment in Nashville. While other musicians buy expensive clothes and cars, he sticks to what fuels his music. He does not use modern gadgets. He has lived without a phone for years, preferring silence over distractions. His daily life follows strict rules. He avoids socializing too much and believes limits make creativity stronger. Even his music reflects this mindset. He records with old equipment and plays vintage instruments. His record label, Third Man Records, focuses on vinyl, not digital music. He believes music should be something real, not just a file on a computer. White does not waste money on luxury. He wears thrift store clothes and drives simple cars. Even when touring, he keeps costs low. Instead of spending on himself, he invests in projects that support musicians and keep music alive. 5. Michael Stipe. The lead singer of R.E.M., Michael Stipe never fit the rock star image. He could have bought castles, but instead he chose small homes in New York and Berlin. His homes are not filled with gold, but with books and art that inspire him. For Stipe, money is not about status. He wears simple, comfortable clothes instead of designer fashion. His business choices reflect his values. He invested in a vegetarian restaurant in Athens, Georgia, not to make money, but to support sustainability. Unlike other rock stars who ride in fancy cars, he takes the subway. He cares about the environment and supports green energy and reducing waste. His goal is to leave the world better than he found it. Even after REM ended, he stayed away from the spotlight. Instead of chasing fame, he focused on photography, sculpture, and personal art projects. He does not let money or fame control him. He stays true to his values, avoiding the distractions that come with wealth. 6. Steve Albini. A key figure in underground rock, Steve Albini helped shape the sound of some of the most famous albums in history. But unlike the artists he worked with, he never chased fame or money. He could have been a millionaire many times over, but he chose a different path. Albini refuses to take royalties, even for huge albums like In Utero by Nirvana. He sees music as a craft, not a business, and only charges a flat fee for his work. This decision has cost him millions, but he stands by it. He believes artists should own their work, not be in debt to producers. This belief has made him one of the most respected names in music, even if he never became as rich as others in his field. Even outside of music, he lives simply. He spends his time fixing equipment, playing poker, and working with bands who care more about art than money. Fame doesn't interest him. He doesn't want attention or wealth beyond what he needs to keep creating. He sees himself as a craftsman, not a businessman, and this mindset shapes everything he does. His independence matters more to him than any financial reward. 7. Tommy Ramone. The original drummer of the Ramones, Tommy Ramone, was never a typical rock star. Even as punk rock took over the world, he avoided the wealth and excess that came with fame. The Ramones influenced generations, but they never had an easy path. They had to fight for every dollar, struggled to get played on the radio, and refused to change for mainstream success. Tommy knew fame didn't last, but music did. He wasn't in it for money. He just wanted to make music that spoke to outsiders. His drumming was raw, fast, and full of energy, just like his approach to life. While many rock stars embraced luxury, Tommy lived simply. He never owned flashy cars or got caught up in the Hollywood lifestyle. After leaving the drums, he faded into a quiet life, far from the chaos of the rock world. He never cashed in on his fame, never turned his name into a brand. For him, punk was more than music. It was a way of life. He stayed involved behind the scenes, producing albums and shaping the sound of future bands. Even when the Ramones were no longer in the spotlight, his passion for music never faded. As the last surviving original Ramone, Tommy still avoided fame. He focused on music, never seeking attention. He could have used his name to make money, but he didn't. Instead, he left behind a legacy of raw energy and artistic integrity. He proved that true rebellion isn't about being famous. It's about staying true to yourself. 8. Ian Anderson. The leader of Jethro Tull, Ian Anderson has spent years changing rock music, but his life is nothing like the wild lives of other rock stars. No huge mansions, no wild parties. Instead, he lives in an old farmhouse in England, surrounded by nature, not luxury. While others buy gold decorations and expensive art, he plants trees. To him, wealth isn't about money, it's about the air we breathe and the land we walk on. Anderson doesn't just talk about protecting nature, he does it. He spends his money on conservation, making sure his land stays healthy long after he's gone. Instead of buying sports cars, he plants forests. Instead of buying islands, he builds habitats for animals. He proves that success doesn't have to mean waste. He even helps bigger projects that protect the environment beyond his own land. Even when he travels, he keeps things simple. Yes, he has a second home in Switzerland, but not for showing off. He likes the peace and quiet to focus on music. Despite his long career and huge impact on music, he never got caught up in wanting more and more. He cares about living with purpose, not just collecting things. Even on tour, he makes choices that fit his belief in living responsibly. 9. Billy Strings. He grew up with little, so he knows the value of a dollar. He doesn't waste money on flashy things. Instead, he focuses on his passion. Unlike old rock stars who hoarded their money, Billy invests in something different. Time. Time fishing, time with family, time enjoying the quiet moments that make life real. He keeps the people who have always been there for him close and doesn't get caught up in fame. One of the most interesting things about Billy is his love for fixing watches. While others buy fancy ones, he repairs them. He enjoys the careful work, the patience it takes. In an industry that moves fast, he finds peace in something slow. It's rare for a rising star to be this grounded, to resist the urge to chase wealth and status. Billy could be living like the rich and famous, but he chooses to stay real. Fame changes most people, but he holds on to who he is. Success comes and goes, but self-respect lasts forever. In a world where so many chase status, Billy's path stands out. 10. Mark Arm. The voice of Mudhoney, Mark Arm never chased fame or fortune. While bands like Nirvana and Pearl Jam became superstars, he stayed in the shadows, making raw, honest rock. He refused to sign big money deals or change his music to fit the industry's rules. Instead of living like a rich rock star, Mark works a regular job at Sub Pop Records, the label that helped start grunge. He spends his days packing and shipping records. To some, it may seem strange for a rock legend, but Mark never cared about money, cars, or fancy houses. He just wants to be close to the music he loves. For him, success isn't about wealth. It's about staying true to himself and the underground scene that shaped him. His tours are just as simple. No private jets, no fancy hotels, just the basics. While other bands charge high prices for reunion shows, Mark keeps ticket costs low so real fans can afford them. He hates how grunge has been turned into a cash grab and refuses to sell out. In a world where many musicians chase fame and fortune, his loyalty to his music stands out. 11. Buzz Osborne. The leader of the Melvins, Buzz Osborne could have taken the easy road, signing big contracts, touring in luxury, and chasing millions. But he never cared about mainstream success. For decades, he has done things his way, refusing to follow industry trends. He doesn't dress like a typical rock star. Instead of fancy clothes, he wears baggy thrift store outfits. While other musicians spent their money on mansions and sports cars, Buzz kept things simple. His focus has always been on making music, not making money. To him, success means creating something real and lasting without corporate influence. Even the Melvins refused to play by the rules. Instead of signing with big labels for a quick payday, they release music on their own terms. They don't rely on flashy marketing, radio hits, or sponsorship deals. Instead, they have built a loyal cult following that respects their independence. Their music breaks the usual rock formulas with odd rhythms and unexpected song structures, proving that real artistry isn't about pleasing the masses. 12. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. One of the biggest rock bands today, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard don't act like rich superstars. They could have signed big record deals and lived in fancy houses, but they chose to do things their own way. Unlike most bands, they don't rely on record labels. They release their own music, sell their own merchandise, and make their own choices. This means they never have to follow anyone else's rules. They can experiment as much as they want, switching from psychedelic rock to thrash metal and everything in between. Even though they are famous, they live like regular people. They don't buy huge houses or move to Hollywood. They stay in Australia and live simple lives. When they go on tour, they don't waste money on expensive hotels or fancy buses. Instead, they keep costs low so fans can afford their concerts. Their focus is always on the music, not on making millions. They believe that if the music is good, people will listen. No tricks needed. They also care about their fans. They let people choose how much to pay for albums, and sometimes they even give them away for free. While many musicians try to make as much money as possible, King Gizzard focuses on the music itself. They also care about the planet, using eco-friendly materials for their records and making sure their tours don't harm the environment. Their actions prove they care about more than just success. 13. Scott Wino Weinrich. Many rock stars love showing off their money, driving luxury cars, and living in huge mansions. Scott Wino Weinrich is different. A legend in doom metal and stoner rock, he has spent his life staying true to his music, no matter what it cost him. As the leader of bands like The Obsessed, St. Vitus, and Spirit Caravan, Wino has never chased money or fame. His tours are as simple as they come. No fancy hotels, no expensive meals, just the road, the music, and a commitment to staying underground. While other musicians sign huge deals and change their sound for money, Wino sticks to his old guitars and raw, powerful music. He refuses to follow trends or compromise just to make things easier. Even after decades in the music business, Wino still lives a simple life. No flashy clothes, no sports cars, no giant houses. Every dollar he earns goes back into his music. While many aging rock stars try to make one last fortune, Wino keeps doing what he loves. For him, music is about passion, not profit. 14. Greg Ginn. The leader of Black Flag and founder of SST Records, Greg Ginn could have been rich, but that was never his goal. He shaped hardcore punk, building something real, something raw, free from corporate control. To keep it that way, he gave up wealth, comfort, and fame. His studios are simple. No fancy equipment, no expensive gear, just the basics. His records sound rough because they were made in garages. While others signed big record deals, Ginn stayed independent, running SST on a tight budget and keeping full control. Punk rock has changed. The underground is smaller and staying independent is harder, but Ginn won't sell out. He won't cash in on Black Flag's name for a reunion tour. Instead, he keeps making new music, refusing to follow the industry's rules. 15. Calvin Johnson. Built as a safe space for music free from corporate influence and big money deals, K Records was Calvin Johnson's vision from the start. He never wanted to be famous. He wanted something harder to find, complete independence. His label worked with almost nothing. No big offices, no marketing teams, just music shared by hand. His records were pressed on cassettes and vinyl, not mass-produced CDs. He wasn't just selling music. He was building a movement. His life reflected his values. No luxury, no excess, just old clothes, second-hand gear, and a refusal to upgrade. He ignored streaming and never sold songs for ads. Even when indie music started making money, he never cashed in. 16. Robert Pollard. Some rock stars live in huge houses, drive fancy cars, and spend money like kings. Robert Pollard? He never cared about any of that. As the leader of Guided by Voices, he has written thousands of songs, but he does it because he loves it, not for fame or money. While others chase the rock and roll dream, Pollard stays in the same small town, living like an ordinary guy. When Guided by Voices started getting noticed, Pollard did not quit his job. Unlike most musicians, he kept working as an elementary school teacher in Ohio. By day, he taught kids in a classroom. By night, he played rock shows. Even as his band gained fans, he saw no reason to leave his routine for a life of luxury. Being a rock star never mattered to him. He stayed in his hometown of Dayton, Ohio, surrounded by the same streets, bars, and grocery stores he had always known. Pollard's music matches his simple way of life. Guided by Voices became known for their rough homemade sound. They recorded on cheap cassette tapes in basements and garages. Even when the band got more popular, Pollard refused to use expensive studios. He believed real rock music should be raw and imperfect. To him, music is about passion, not making everything sound perfect. His concerts are the same way. No fancy lights, no huge stage effects, just loud, pure rock music. While other bands charge high prices for tickets, Pollard keeps his shows affordable so his fans can enjoy live music without spending too much. Pollard had many chances to make big money. He could have signed with a major label, sold his songs for commercials, or turned his underground success into mainstream fame. But he never did. He stayed independent, releasing music on small labels or paying for projects himself. In a world where even outsiders eventually sell out, Pollard stayed true to himself. He proved that rock and roll is not about wealth and fame. It is about doing what you love. 17. J. Mascis. The leader of Dinosaur Jr., J. Mascis could have been a big rock star, living in a huge house with fancy cars. But he didn't want that life. He drives old, worn-out cars, wears the same clothes, and doesn't care about fame. He helped shape alternative rock, but he never acted like a rock star. For Mascis, music is about the sound, not the spotlight. While many musicians love new gear and expensive studios, Mascis sticks with what he knows. His powerful sound comes from old guitars and amps he has used for years. He doesn't follow trends or buy the latest equipment. He just plays. His way is simple. Plug in, turn up the volume, and let the guitar do the talking. Off stage, Mascis is just as low-key. Instead of flying first class or staying in fancy hotels, he chooses cheap places or crashes with friends. While other rock stars have teams of people around them, Mascis often drives himself to shows. He lives simply, focused only on what matters. Even in interviews, he is quiet and reserved. He speaks softly, uses dry humor, and never brags about his success. He still lives in a small house in Massachusetts, spending his time collecting records, skateboarding, and enjoying simple hobbies. The flashy side of the music world never interested him. To Mascis, success means staying true to himself and his music. 18. Guy Picciotto. The heart of Fugazi. Guy Picciotto chose a different path than most rock stars. While others chased money and fame, he rejected it all, proving that music could be powerful without greed. He didn't just play punk rock, he lived it. Fugazi made sure their shows were affordable, charging only $5 for tickets. They refused big record deals that would have made them rich, but taken away their freedom. Money was never the goal. Music was. Unlike other bands that made a fortune selling merchandise, Fugazi sold none. They believed music was an experience, not a product. Picciotto's simple life matched his values. He didn't buy expensive guitars or designer clothes. He played with the same old gear and dressed in thrift store clothes. Fugazi toured in old vans, never in fancy buses. They split their earnings fairly and never wasted money on luxury. Even as their fame grew, their way of life stayed the same: simple, honest, and independent. The band refused to play big arenas. They stuck to small venues where fans could be close to the music. Picciotto never bought a mansion or flashy cars. He biked around Washington, D.C., shopped at local stores, and lived like any regular person. Fame never changed him. It barely touched him. Even after Fugazi stopped making music, Picciotto did not sell out. He didn't cash in on nostalgia or do reunion tours for easy money. Instead, he worked quietly, helping underground artists stay true to their vision. He also supported fair wages for musicians and stood against corporate greed in the industry. 19. Roky Erickson. A pioneer of psychedelic rock, Roky Erickson spent most of his life in poverty. As the lead singer of the 13th Floor Elevators, he helped shape the genre, but the music industry left him behind. He had talent, influence, and vision, but not the success he deserved. His mind was full of music, but it also trapped him in darkness. In the late 1960s, doctors diagnosed him with schizophrenia. He went through harsh treatments like electroshock therapy, which took a toll on him. While other musicians built their careers, he was locked away, unable to control his own music. People took advantage of him, signing contracts he didn't understand. He lost his royalties and was left with nothing. Over time, Erickson faded from the public eye. He lived in small, crumbling apartments, surrounded by unopened fan letters, not realizing that people still cared about him. His talent never disappeared, but the world moved on. It wasn't until musicians like R.E.M., ZZ Top, and the Butthole Surfers stepped in that his name resurfaced. Even then, it was his brother who became his guardian and helped him regain stability. Then, against all odds, he made a comeback. In the 2000s, Erickson returned to the stage, performing with the same passion as before. He never chased money or fame. He simply loved music. While others sought fortune, he played for the joy of it. His return reminded the world of his greatness, but it never made him rich. 20. Mick Collins. Shaping underground rock, Mick Collins made a lasting impact, yet few recognize his influence. While many musicians enjoy fame and fortune, he never chased riches. He stayed true to his music, refusing to let money change him. As the leader of the Gories and the Dirt Bombs, he helped revive garage rock, influencing bands that would later fill stadiums. Yet while others capitalized on the sound he helped create, Collins remained in the shadows. He avoided major label deals and never made music just to sell records. He valued art over profit. Collins could have been a mainstream star, but he chose a different path. He remained a mystery, a rock legend who lived like an ordinary man. His influence on modern rock is undeniable, even if the world rarely acknowledges it. His story proves that true musicians create for passion, not money. His lifestyle reflects his philosophy. There are no flashy cars in his driveway, no extravagant shopping sprees, no high-priced guitars built to impress collectors. His wardrobe consists of simple, everyday clothes. He doesn't surround himself with luxury. Instead, he focuses on what truly matters: the music. While other artists sink fortunes into high-tech studios, Collins prefers the raw, unfiltered power of low-budget recording setups. He could afford more, but he doesn't want more. His commitment to independence is rare in an industry that thrives on image and profit. Many rock stars trade their artistic vision for financial gain, but Collins refuses. No corporate sponsors, no branded endorsements, no commercial partnerships. Even when presented with lucrative deals, he turns them down. He will not allow his music to be reduced to a product, a tool for companies to sell their goods. To him, rock and roll is more than entertainment. It's a way of life, and it must remain pure. Collins doesn't just live modestly, he actively rejects the industry's money-driven culture. He could headline massive festivals, but he chooses small, intimate venues instead. He could sell out stadiums, but he prefers the energy of dimly lit bars where the music is loud, raw, and real. He could charge sky-high prices for his performances, but he doesn't. Fans don't come to see a rock god. They come to see an artist who has never lost touch with the underground scene. Despite his success, Collins has never distanced himself from the struggling musicians he once was. He collaborates with up-and-coming artists, mentoring those who, like him, refuse to conform. He lends his talent without expectation, guiding young musicians down the same independent road he walks. In a world where legends often retreat into wealth, Collins remains grounded, as if fame never touched him at all.